All right, let's dive right in. If you're tired of wrestling with a messy, fragmented AI setup, juggling local models, GPUs, and a dozen external APIs all over the place, you are in the exact right spot. Today, we're looking at the Helix Quick Start Guide to see how you can transform all that chaos into one unified private control plane. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll quickly cover why you'd use Helix, the core requirements, inference providers, the one-line installer, custom setups, and finally, how to secure your deployment. First up, Section 1, Why Helix? What's the real value of a unified AI control plane? Before we get bogged down in hardware specs and terminal commands, let's look at the actual payoff. With Helix, you aren't just getting a basic model runner. You're getting version-controlled configurations for your LLM apps. You get continuous knowledge RAG that dynamically updates directly from a URL, plus out-of-the-box API integrations so your app can fetch real-time data right when it needs it. And all of this is managed through the brand new Helix App Editor UI. It's literally an entire ecosystem wrapped up in one package. Moving on to part 2, the core requirements. Let's look at the anatomy of this AI engine. To pull this off, we need to break Helix down into its core parts, starting with the absolute brain of the operation, the control plane. Think of this as the restaurant manager. It doesn't actually cook the food, but it handles all the API requests, runs the web interface you interact with, and keeps your PostgreSQL database perfectly organized. To keep that analogy going, the control plane manager just needs a standard office setup. We're talking Linux, macOS, or Windows, running Docker, with 4 CPUs, 8 gigs of RAM, and 50 gigs of disk space. But the inference provider? That's your kitchen staff. It needs the heavy-duty appliances to actually cook up those AI responses, which means serious GPU power or a connection to a dedicated external service. That brings us to Section 3, Inference Providers. It's time to choose your muscle. So you've got 3 distinct paths here depending on your hardware. Number 1, you can run private Helix runners directly on an NVIDIA GPU if you've got the rig for it. Number 2, you can utilize a local Llama instance. Or 3, you can point your control plane to an OpenAI-compatible API provider. The docs actually highlight Together AI as a stellar option here because it lets you run the exact same open-source models via API that you'd run locally, but you could also plug in VLLM, Azure OpenAI, or Gemini. If you are taking the private GPU route, 8 is your magic number. You'll need at least 8 gigabytes of GPU memory to run smaller models like Llama 3.8b or 5.3 Mini. And remember, your system needs to have at least as much standard RAM as you have GPU memory. But hey, if you want to play in the big leagues, you've got to step that up to a 24 gigabyte minimum. That is the absolute baseline if you're looking to run heavier models like Mixtral or SDXL, or if you plan on fine-tuning text or images. Honestly, the docs recommend dual 24 gigabyte GPUs like 3090s or A6000s if you want to process text and images in parallel for the best price-to-performance ratio.
Okay, Section 4, the one-line installer, bringing simplicity to deployment.
With the hardware specs sorted, let's look at the baseline script that makes this ridiculously easy to launch. This single curl command downloads and fires off the bash installation script. Whether you are running Linux, macOS, or Windows via WSL2, this right here is your starting line. And don't worry, the installer is polite. It'll actually prompt you before making any system changes. Section 5 is all about custom setups. It's a bit of a choose-your-own adventure. The base install is great, sure, but real-world setups are rarely one-size-fits-all. So let's see how you can use modular flags to customize things. Say you want a standard local NVIDIA setup with text fine-tuning. You just download the script, attach the HF token flag with a valid Hugging Face token, which you'll need for models like Mistral, and then run it with sudo permissions. Boom, that spins up the CLI, the control plane, and a runner on localhost. But wait, what if you don't have a shiny new 3090? If you're running an older 1060 or 1080 series card, this older GPU flag is an absolute lifesaver. It safely disables the newer image inference and fine-tuning features, making sure your setup actually runs smoothly without crashing from unsupported operations. You also have some alternative routes. To connect to a local Llama setup, you just pass the OpenAI API key Llama flag and set your local Docker host URL. To use an external API, you just drop in your Together API key. Just note, both of these currently skip image inference and fine-tuning. You'll need a full local GPU for those. Oh, and if you want to share your Helix deployment publicly, pass the API host flag with your domain. If you're on Ubuntu, the script even sets up automated TLS encryption with Caddy. Finally, Section 6, securing your deployment and locking down that control plane. Once your setup is humming along and your secrets are generated, you have to make sure your private AI actually stays private. Listen up, because this is a massive takeaway. Out of the box, Helix is designed to be super open to make testing frictionless. By default, new registrations are wide open and every new account gets admin status. No joke. So before you go into production, it is absolutely critical that you lock it down. You do this by defining the admin user IDs variable as a comma-separated list in your .env file, then just run docker compose up-d to apply it. The cool part? When you eventually upgrade Helix, it automatically reuses and backs up these secure secrets for you. So, we've broken down the architecture, the requirements, the quick installer, and how to lock it all down. The only question left is, which inference path are you going to build on? Look at your hardware right now. Are you spinning up a massive local GPU runner, tapping into an existing Llama setup, or calling a cloud API to power your private AI engine today? The tools are right here.